Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Isabella Young, and in this series of videos, The Cult in the Cul-de-Sac, a True Crime, I'm exposing an extremely dangerous and delusional individual called Louis Domprey. He runs a cult in Southern California and in Melbourne, Australia. He believes he's the second coming, the Kalki Avatar, the Maitreya Buddha, and that he's here to save the world. And through his lies and deception and mindfuckery and bribes and blackmail, he has a group of people around him who fulfill his every need. They provide slave labor, they fulfill his sexual needs, they give him money so that he can live a debauched lifestyle. And meanwhile, he presents himself as this holy man, which is wrong. It's evil, and it's causing a lot of suffering for all those of us who were in the cult. It takes a long time to heal from the abuse that he dishes out, and for those people in the cult, they are extremely brainwashed and mind controlled. Just like all cult leaders, he has an insatiable desire for sex and money and power, and that's what drives him, along with his narcissistic personality disorder. He needs narcissistic supply, so he gets that from his group around him. But he's not the only one. And this presentation, I will include a number of other extremely dangerous and delusional individuals who have the same beliefs about themselves, that they're somehow a godlike being that's here to lead people into the new earth or the new kingdom. They're extremely mentally ill. They've lost touch with reality, and they take advantage of people who are vulnerable and emotionally wounded, and they can get people to follow their orders. But the good news is that they are being exposed, and from one person speaking up about what they know is wrong, more people come forth, and then there are charges laid, and then they need to go to court, and many of them are being found guilty and given prison sentences, life without parole, possibly even the death sentences for those who are murderers. So that's the good news, that there is light being shone in the darkness, and I'm very grateful to be able to be a part of that, part of exposing the evil that walks among us. Here is a short introduction to Louis Domprey, cult leader, predator, pedophile, groomer, and rapist, who has his cult headquarters in Laguna Hills, California, and also in Melbourne, Australia. He has a website, www.louis.org, and a YouTube channel. He also has proclaimed himself as the Maitreya, and this is the revelation of the Maitreya that he gave to the world back in 1999. Let it be heralded among all creation and throughout the annals of time that I have come, as the one Jews have long awaited, as the Messiah, Christians as the second coming, Buddhists as the Maitreya. All these am I, and by all other names of all other prophecies, henceforth known as Bhagavan Sri Pranananda, clothed in humble earthly disguise as Louis Domprey. I have come among thee as your equal to create a new world order among all men, verily among all creation itself. No house, home, church, or temple shall escape the dauntless ferocity of my love, the soul-wrenching permeation of my gaze, nor the salvation from all suffering granted by the eternal devotion of my existence among you. Rejoice, dear children of light, for as the life of Jesus proclaimed, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. I have come among you to walk you into the living remembrance and realization that the kingdom of heaven is thine. And this is his Tinder account. He has groomed young boys, including my son and other boys in the cult, which has been sanctioned by other cult members. He has raped many cult members who are far too traumatized at this point to speak up about what they experienced. And he's been stealing money from people for decades and defrauding taxation departments in this country and another number of other countries. There have also been a number of suspicious deaths in the cult, which the cult leader blames on everybody else except himself. Yet these deaths are connected to people's relationships with him, their experiences with him, their knowledge of him. And it's only a matter of time until more people step forth and expose him. His days are numbered. I find it fascinating that the similarities between cults and cult leaders are across the board. And the cult that I'd like to compare the one that I was in to today is the cult that was run by Chad Daybell and Vallow. Now, just like the evil gnome whose cult I was in, Chad and Laurie are self-proclaimed missionaries from God. They've been ordained to lead the 144,000 into the kingdom of heaven. They're on a special mission, and that gives them the right to do whatever it is that they need to do to achieve their mission. Just like the cult that I was in, they will lie, they will cheat, they will steal, deceive, and they will take people out if people are in their way. And as I'm recording this video, Chad Daybell is facing the death penalty for the murder of his wife, Tammy, and Laurie's two children, Kylie and JJ. So Chad and Laurie decided that they were the God ordained beings with these special powers who could tell who was good and who was bad. They had a list of who was dark and who was light. And of course the dark ones are the zombies. And so they had to do away with the zombies that were in their way so they could be together and fulfill their mission. And Chad told Laurie she was a goddess, and this lifetime they were going to come together to fulfill their mission. And that's what I was told, that I was a goddess, and that we were here to model the blueprint for the divine family. And it's such a just absolute lie. There was nothing about what our family or anything to do with our relationship or his parenting or anything that was anything but really dangerous and evil. Because like Chad and Laurie, self-obsessed narcissist whose only concerns are really getting his needs met. And just like all cult members, it's all about sex and power and money. And that's what Chad and Laurie were all about. And they took out whoever was in the way of that. They also cherry-picked from different religious traditions, which is just like the evil gnome did. He took like Hindu traditions and some Christian traditions and rituals and stuff that he just made up and put it all together, and then that was presented as the ultimate spiritual knowledge, when really he didn't teach like natural law or your basic principles of how to be a good person, and he certainly didn't practice them. And Chad and Laurie were doing the same thing. They cherry-picked things like they did castings where they're basically like exorcisms, and they gave out blessings, which were really just ways to convince people that they were helping a mission and getting them to kill for them. They also had visions and near-death experiences and prophetic dreams and visitations from higher beings and angels, and that's what the evil gnome did. He talked about all the ascended masters and Jesus and aliens who would come to him and teach him and give him his name. They're really mentally ill, these people. The evil gnome would do this thing where he would give people what Shaktipat, which is like a transmission of divine energy, and that would send people into like shaking and crying, and really it was demonic. People were being infested with demons just like him, because that's one other thing that runs him. And that's the thing that I see consistently in these cults, cult leaders, is that they will insist that there are people who are infested with demons and they need to be taken out. And that's another cult that I studied, is the Jody Hildebrand and Ruby Frankie cult, where they were torturing Ruby Frankie's two younger children, believing that they were overtaken by demons and that they need to be tortured to get the demons out of them, when really the demonic energy is within the cult leaders, all of them. Nothing else explains the actions, the cruelty, the lies, and the murders, the torture, and the suffering that they inflict. Nothing else really explains it. You can, talk psychology and psychopathy, but unless we acknowledge that there's an element of demonic forces within these people, it really won't change anything, because we are dealing with dark forces. I was told that I had past lives with him, and now we were in this lifetime together, which was the culmination of our journey as twin flames, and we were here to model the way forward for humanity. Chad told Laurie the same thing, that she's a goddess and they're here to lead people into the new kingdom, New Jerusalem, or whatever. I don't know. Can't keep up with all their bullshit. And one of the things I found most disturbing and most similar about about Laurie Vallow and her murderous actions was that she stood up in court, was given the opportunity to speak, and she said how her children and Tammy were in a better place now, how they were happy, how they were busy, how they had missions, and how they came to her all the time and talked to her, and they'd forgiven her and everything was fine, like they were better off now. That's so sick. And that's exactly how the gnome talks about my son, that he's made peace with him and that my son's actually now helping him with his mission here on earth, which is absolutely enraging and wrong. There's no way that that's happening. My son knows the difference between good and evil is in the form of Louis Dordompré. They say they have these special powers, like to change the weather, make it rain, end droughts, and they can bring dead things back to life. And that's something that the gnome would talk about, tell people the same stories over and over again, how when he landed in an airport where it hadn't rained for months, it immediately started pouring with rain. And that he had visions of the future. He could see that Oprah was going to fly him into a stadium of hundreds of thousands of people. He'd be dropped in with a helicopter because he couldn't get through the crowds, and then he would address everybody. And the Chad and Laurie had the same thing. They would see visions of the future. You know, Chad said, "Oh, my wife's going to die young or soon," whereas really he was just speaking what their plan was, and that was to take out anyone in their way. And that's what happened in the cult that I was in. My son was taken out because he was in the way. He was not going to bow down. He was not going to worship. He was not going to be sexually abused. And so he was taken out so that the deception could go on. And that's what Chad and Laurie did too. They took out anyone who stood in the way of them getting together and doing whatever they did when they got together. So Chad's up for the death penalty, and it'll be interesting to see the outcome of that, whether or not he is his life ends, his cult and his relationship and the damage that he and Laurie did together is over. And I look forward to the end of the Louis Dordampre Foundation and the exposure of its leader, because these are very dangerous and very evil predators, murderers, and psychopaths. So thanks for listening, and I will be back soon with another video in this series where I'm comparing the cult that I was in with other cults and cult leaders.